Welcome to the Darkstream, Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and Unauthorized TV. Sorry I'm a little bit late, but we're good to go. And tonight we're going to talk about the new Goddess of Thunder. Marvel has taken the entirely new and wildly shocking and absolutely unforeseen step of turning another male superhero into a woman. No one's ever done that before. Totally new. Totally exciting. Hey everybody. Good to see you. This is probably not going to be a particularly long dark stream tonight, although of course whenever Owen says that he goes on for 3 hours, so maybe I should be a little bit more cautious about that. But somebody said, does Vox have a problem sleeping? It's 1 a.m. over there. I don't have a problem sleeping. I just keep late hours. That's all, you know. But it was a busy day, and I am a bit tired. Something about being out in the sun just like does you in. But welcome to the new members. Welcome, Nationalist Bear. So it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see how aggressively Hollywood is attempting to destroy all of the last vestiges of Western culture. That's what the point is, you understand. It's all about taking away your heroes. It's all about demoralizing you. Durlex Sedlex says, I see my investments in Alt Hero will be paying off handsomely in the future. You know, you never know, but they may. You know, the backers of Alt Hero are going to be receiving the Alt Hero 1 to 6 omnibus very soon, the paperback and the backers only hardcover. There will be a regular hardcover too for sale, but there's a backers only version. And then we're going to have Chuck Dixon's Avalon number 1 through 6, that omnibus coming out soon. And it's going to be interesting to see how their value is going to grow over time, because I suspect it will. Welcome, Brandon Brophy. And we're really excited about these developments. I'm not angry about it. You know, on sites like Bleeding Cool, they get all excited to start talking about how the man babies are raging even before anybody has said anything at all. But we're not raging. We're delighted. We're absolutely delighted to see Marvel and DC actively destroying the market. And, you know, really they're not destroying the market, they're exiting the market, and they're creating a vacuum for us. Welcome, German Bear. Hakan says, you are onto something here, the destruction of our pride. Oh, that's absolutely the case. They want to destroy the very concept of the hero. And you can see why when you read that article by the Churchian cuck, Rod Dreher. You know, I like Rod Dreher. I want to like Rod Dreher. Rod Dreher was the only major newspaper editor who bought my column when I was syndicated by Universal Press Syndicate, my political column. Lots of papers picked up my game column, but my political column was only ever picked up by the Dallas Morning News, and it was because Rod Dreher was the opinion page editor there. They only ran it for like 2 weeks, but still, you know, give credit where credit's due. But and welcome, David Rugg, another new member. I read the article today, and it was just depressing. And it illustrates why they're trying to destroy the concept of the hero. For all the flaws of the Marvel superheroes, for all the weird little messages and themes that they tried to work in, they still appealed to the masculine aspect of Western civilization. The whole concept, with great power comes great responsibility. The idea that you have to act and do something. The idea that you need to take action to help out and defend both yourself and those in need. There's greatness in the house. Rollo Tomasi has shown up. Welcome, Rollo. Good to see you. So I'm reading this article. Is the fact that he was bullied by some older boys who threatened to pull his pants down. Absolutely nuts. The guy hasn't grown out of his 14-year-old experience. And, at least with the old comics, they used to teach boys, stand up to the bully. Fight back. Fight back even if you don't think you're going to win. I mean, think about practically every theme of every classic comic ever. They're constantly fighting battles that they don't think they can win, but they fight them anyhow. Now, of course, because they're comics, they always end up winning, etc., etc. So, okay, that sort of weakens the theme because, as Chuck Dixon constantly complains about, they have to maintain continuity, by which they mean nothing can ever change. That means there's no real risk, etc., etc. But the themes are still there. The masculine themes are still there. The sacrifice, the noble virtues, courage. And that's what they want to destroy. That's what they're trying to get rid of. Oops, wrong one. So when you look at why they're trying to destroy these things, why are they trying to substitute Natalie Portman for Chris Hemsworth? Because no young man can look up to Natalie Portman. No young woman is going to look up to her either. That's not what they're about. That's not what they're interested in. But they don't care about that. It's just like with the four lights thing. And welcome, Hypermobility Bear. It's just like the four lights thing. They don't care whether you say there's 3 lights, there's 5 lights, or there's 37 lights. They just want you to not say 4. They don't care if you don't look up to Natalie Portman, or if you don't look up to, Gal Gadot, or the Wakanda guy, or whatever. They just don't want to give you anyone to look up to. And welcome, DA, another new member. And so, that's what we are fighting against with Alt Hero. We have legitimate heroes actually taking risks, and because we don't have any continuity to protect, there is going to be a level of risk involved that people are not accustomed to in a superhero universe. And it's going to be interesting to see if this is something that you want to know more about. Go to the blog, look at the link to the Rebels Run movie. There's still a little bit of room. We've achieved our goals. We're moving forward. And I was actually just talking to the director of the documentary that I told you about. They finished the filming today, and he said everything's great. We got everything we needed. We got everything we wanted. And so we're going to provide you and present to you the first of hopefully many unauthorized documentaries starting next month. Actually, it's probably going to be early September when we release it. But this is an opportunity. This is not something to lament. This is not something to get upset about. This is something to celebrate and exploit. That's what we're doing. And if you want to join us, right here, Alt Hero. This is what we're doing. Chuck Dixon's Avalon. And the thing is, we're kind of amazed because we published this Alt Hero number 4, the War in Paris, with Generation Identitaire and Antifa, before the Yellow Vest movement. If you've been to Paris, you'll recognize both of those locations. Although, what's missing is the Eiffel Tower. It usually shows up from that view. I have no idea what happened there. But, this is how we contest the cultural war. And this is just one of dozens of comics that we've already produced and that we're already producing. And how am I so sure about this? How do I know that they're attempting to remove these masculine and noble virtues from the culture? They're attempting to do, or they're doing it because they've been doing it for 100 years. I didn't realize this fully until we started looking at republishing the Collier's Junior Classics. And what really struck me was that at the beginning of one of the 1918 editions, there was this 6 or 7 page explanation of the knightly virtues and how a young man became a knight, the prayer vigil, the Christian virtues he was expected to uphold. And all of that was removed by the 1958 edition. And it became very clear that the two things that they had removed most completely were the Christianity, the open Christianity, and everything related to masculine courage. They got rid of all the Native American legends. They got rid of all the sort of, Davy Crockett, Kit Carson, I killed a bar when I was only 12, that sort of thing. Durlex Sedlex, if your address changed between the original campaign and now, what's the best way to update that? Email voxday@gmail.com with your backer number, with your Alt Hero backer number and your new address. Lawn Bear asks, Vox, do you think Western civilization needs the screen just jumped. Needs a return of a rite of passage ceremony or trial? No, I don't think it necessarily needs that, because that's never really been part of Western civilization. That's something that the Jews do. That's something that the Native Americans did. I don't think Western civilization needs that. Most men in the West were not knights, but I do think that we do need a restoration of the original Boy Scouts. Live Free or Die Bear says, upgraded my unauthorized subscription today. Excellent, thank you. Very happy with all the content. Excited for your future productions as well. Thanks, Vox. Thank you, Live Free or Die Bear. The subscriptions that you guys are signing up for with unauthorized, we are at the verge now of being very close to being able to produce inexpensive stuff, on our own. And we're close to being able to crowdfund much larger stuff. I'm not talking about, not like the Rebels Run thing. That's big. But, a decent, fully professional documentary and stuff. We're making those contacts. We're gaining the expertise, and things are coming together. And, you know, I think you're going to see things really continue to start moving onward and upward relatively quickly, beginning tomorrow, when we're going to add a new content creator who's very popular on Instagram and is joining us tomorrow, assuming I get at least some of the videos up. He'll be joining us this week, let's put it that way. Monica S says, am I the only one that thinks the comic books would do better not being called alt hero? No, you're wrong, because we have plenty of other comic books that are not called alt hero, and they're not doing better than that. So your opinion is incorrect. You know, I see. This is why you should leave the marketing to us. We know what we're doing. Alt hero, I mean, you're not the first person to say that, but the point is that alt hero raised at the time the biggest crowdfunding of any new comic ever. I think Kickstarter had 11,000 comic crowdfunding campaigns. Only 19 of them were bigger, and all of those, including Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog, all of those were related to established comics that already had a big audience, that were already popular, and so forth. Alt Hero was the biggest new one ever. Alt Hero is already, only a year and a half later, after its first conception, already has a full-blown live-action movie in the works. What name is going to exceed that? It's not about that. The reason that it's important, the reason that we call it Alt Hero, is because it is an alternative to the existing superheroes of Marvel and DC. And we're directly addressing that. We're making that very clear. Why? This is why. Because this is what the Marvel and DC heroes are now. A little tiny girl holding a big hammer and looking kind of embarrassed about it. We are providing the alternative to that. Let's see here. Opinion on the movie Princess Bride. I don't like it. I don't hate it, but I don't think it's particularly funny. I'm not a big fan of the subversive humor that, the whole thing is a subversion of and mocking of the sort of tales that I enjoy. So I don't find it particularly amusing. Joshua Sanjo says, why is Alt Hero female? What are you talking about? Okay, here is the Global Justice Initiative. Dr. Nano, male. I'm spacing on her name right now. I can't believe I can't remember my own characters' names. The name that I want to say, Aguilonia, that's it. I wanted to say Aquafina, but I was like, no, that's that actress. So anyhow, Aguilonia and Captain Europa, that is Redshift, Dynamique, Shade, and Rainbow. Okay, so right there you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men and 2 women. Here on the back, you've got a very different group of heroes. That's Rebel and Headshot. So there's plenty of male heroes. And let's see, there's another question there. Where are the masculine virtues in Rebel's Run? Well, you're going to find out. You know, you're going to find out. But the fact that we are using a female protagonist does not mean that the story is only about her. She's the protagonist. But you know, we chose to use her because she is the most recognizable hero that we have so far. So, let's see. Welcome, Eden Bear. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, Joshua, if you only saw the trailer, then of course you wouldn't know. But I mean, there's been how many have we've published 6 alt hero comics, and we've published 4 Chuck Dixon's Avalon comics, which are also set in the world of Alt Hero. And we have a novel coming out next month called Alt Hero Covert, written by John Delarose, which introduces new aspects of the tale. So Alt Hero is a very large vision. You know, it's not the size of, you know, the Marvel thing where they're, you know, jumping out into space and bringing ancient gods into it and all that sort of thing. But it is a large vision. And so, you know, Rebel is just one very small piece of the overall vision. And I think that you'll see that if you look at the comics. Which of Archaven comics are appropriate for a 12 to 13-year-old boy? Alt Hero's fine. Swan Knight Saga is perfect when we get it out. Do not turn to Rebel Dead Revenge. Quantum Mortis is probably better for 15 and up. There's nothing too graphic in it, but it is basically an adult story. And I mean that in terms of maturity and themes. The characters are adults and they think like adults. So, but I don't mean adult in the sense of, you know, sexually obsessed or anything like that. Just in terms of the plot, the way the characters think, the politics, etc. I mean, a 12-year-old is not going to enjoy that or make much sense of that. Do you enjoy writing comics or novels more? Definitely novels. Writing a comic is very similar to writing a short story, in my opinion. Yeah, actually, the Right Ho Jeeves is absolutely fine. Flying Sparks is good. The Ember War is good. You know, there's plenty of stuff. So, Jansen, if you don't like Alt Hero, fine. You know, plenty of people don't like one thing or another. You know, if you don't like it, you don't like it. I don't care. And Alt Hero Q is it's started off with a bang and it just keeps getting bigger and better. And I already can't wait for people to read number 3. That really just blew me away reading the script. Appalachian Bear says, I understand the hammer going to a woman at some point because I'm pretty sure it happened in the comics. Yeah, it did, briefly. But at this point in time, we know it's not because of what happened in the comics, it's because of today's society. Of course, they don't care about what happens in the comics. They're probably going to stop producing comics, both Disney and Warner. They prefer rewriting the stories themselves anyhow. Hollywood has no respect for its source material whatsoever. When you're watching The Lord of the Rings, you can see what lines Tolkien wrote and what lines those moronic women who are, destroying the script put in. It's very easy to tell. Mr. Day, would you watch Snarkwarts, a Star Wars parody, and tell you what you think? No, I don't really watch videos. Pretty much all the videos that I can watch are videos that we're producing, because that's all I have time for. I'll get to this other super chats in a bit here. Yemi Fawahinmi throws in, Disney doesn't care how much money it makes on a movie. They're losing. I mean, look at how much money they lost with Star Wars. Look at how much money they lost with ESPN. And they don't even slow down, because making money is not their primary objective. They want to change the culture. They want to replace the culture. They want to destroy Western civilization. They want to destroy Christianity. Those are more important to them than merely making money. How are the pull-ups coming? Actually, very good. I was pleased. What was it? I think 2 days ago was arms and back day, and I managed to do 13, 10, 8. So, I'm still a long way from my 17, 15, 13 goal, but I think hitting double digits for the first 2 sets, and that was really all I was hoping to do. I was hoping to bump it up to basically go 14-11, but that would have been a pretty good increase from the week before. So we're getting there. If I were to try one out, which alt hero would you recommend? Start at the beginning. Well, actually, if you just want to jump in and get the flavor, I would start with alt hero 4, the War in Paris. And if you like it, then go back to 1. Welcome, William Late. New member. Welcome. Do you think they are conscious about their intent to destroy Western civilization then? Yes, absolutely. They're not going to generally come right out and say it, but that is what they want to do. They're not part of Western civilization. They've never been part of Western civilization. They hate and envy it, and so they want to get rid of it. They want to replace it. Mr. Roshi says, you need a gamma hero who is hit by gamma rays like the Hulk. Only when he gets angry, he runs and hides and plans his revenge. I love it. Yeah, we should make him like pink, too. He can be like the pink Hulk. That'd be hilarious. How does Alpha versus Sigma negotiate most effectively? Well, in my experience, Alphas get threatened, puff out their chest, and the Sigmas do their best to try to mollify them and help the Alpha understand that he has no intention of trying to challenge the Alpha. The more secure an Alpha is, the easier it is for him to actually get along with and make use of the Sigma. Probably the best and most positive Alpha Sigma interaction that I've ever had was with Chuck Bond, who at the time was running ValueSoft, which he had just sold to GT Interactive, our publisher, for something like $100 million, or a lot of money anyhow. And so we were talking to him. We were already doing a game for GT, and we went to meet with them to talk about doing a game for ValueSoft. And it was kind of funny because I was wearing these prescription sunglasses that were kind of they were mirrored but in a very flat way that was reflected somewhat unusually. And so we were sitting at the conference table, and I was at one end and he was at the other end, and for some reason it was bothering him that he couldn't see my eyes. And he said, hey, why don't you take off your shades? And I said, no. And then just continued with what we were talking with. And he paused, And then he just burst out laughing and then ignored it. That was, But what was funny was that years later, he was crucial because he was on the board of GT Interactive. He was crucial in convincing the board to settle with us in a legal dispute because he said, I know these guys, I like these guys, and I can tell you right now, they're not going to back down. And so, and he didn't have a problem with that. He didn't consider it. He was secure enough in his own position that he didn't consider my refusal to play along with him to be a challenge. He just realized, okay, this guy's doing his own thing. And so that was a very interesting and informative experience. But he was a proper alpha. I remember telling my wife once that he's one of those guys that when you meet them, you have to control your immediate instinct to like roll over and expose your belly. Like if you were dogs, that's what you would do. And you might pee on yourself a little. He had that just commanding air of the alpha. And, so it was interesting. Bye, Iron. If you don't like how I talk, you don't have to listen to me. Go away. Welcome, BR Nolan. Why does she hold the hammer like a girl? Because she is a girl. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Sean Vickers says he doesn't grow or anything. He just turns pink. The Incredible Sulk. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Jedi Bear says, hey Vox, I just finished all your works in Selenoth. I love the stories you've told there. I'm particularly fond of the War Dogs coin. Do you see any comics based on the mercenaries in the future? We've talked about the possibility of doing some comics in that universe. We'll have to see. We'll just have to see. I don't know how much interest there is in that. That's the perfect kind of thing to do a crowdfund for, because that lets us figure out whether there's any demand or not. LRN News says, I'm finally finding new friends in my area who understand what's going on. Well, that's good. And more people are understanding what's going on. Katie throws in $1. Thank you. Are Bravos the best at identifying gamma behavior? I don't know. I think that alphas probably tend to see them fastest. Although it might, no, I think that sigmas probably identify them fastest because there seems to be a strong natural antipathy between sigmas and gammas, especially from the sigma. Like, I can't stand gammas. I literally can't stand them. And I think that's partly because sigmas already have enough trouble with the hierarchy anyhow. It doesn't matter whether somebody's an alpha or a delta or whatever. We just don't get and don't like and don't fit into the hierarchy. And gammas are obsessed with status, so they're obsessed with hierarchy, and so they're particularly annoying. It's kind of funny because Owen, being a good Bravo, he occasionally tends to forget that I'm not an alpha, and he'll we should do this, we should do that. My response is, what do you mean we, Kimosabi? There is no we. We're friends, but what's it? Just stop trying to pull me into this hierarchy. you know. And this is the point at which all the VFM watching this are laughing. I mean, this is something that we have seen over, a pattern that we see over and over and over again within the evil legion of evil, which is, you know, people keep trying to draft me as some kind of Monica S throws in $5. Thank you. Quick opinion of Foucault's pendulum. Just go to the Voxiversity channel or go to unauthorized and look up Voxiversity. And there's a video on the social sexual hierarchy. There's a video on alpha. There's a video on gamma, and there's other videos on that coming soon. What's the most craziest experience you've had with a gamma? I think it was when, a guy who, was really a good volunteer and a legitimate help, and still is a legitimate help, got involved in a different project, had a bit of a gamma meltdown, and was attempting to insist that he understood an area of the law better than a lawyer who had specialized in that area for 25 years and was, very aware of all the case law and so forth. And, this was not a bad guy. He's a good guy, very helpful. But that was when I really realized that you need to be extremely cautious when you're dealing with gammas, because they really deep down believe that they are the expert on everything, and there's no convincing them otherwise. There's no logic, there's no rationale. It's the delusion bubble, and you can't wrestle with it. You can't talk them out of it. There's no, it's like talking about the Terminator. You can't reason with them. You can't, especially if they're in the midst of a meltdown for whatever reason, and so, that was crazy, just because this guy was and is, so good at the stuff that he did, and so it was interesting. Let's see here. Men don't have meltdowns, do they? Oh, sure they do. Gammas always will always have meltdowns sooner or later. There are no female gammas. When we talk about the male socio-sexual hierarchy, we are only talking about men. Women don't fit in the hierarchy. They have their own hierarchy, they have their own rules, and I am not privy to most of them. Stevie, see, that wouldn't work. He says, a gamma superhero who has all the powers that gammas think they have. Gammas win every time in their own heads. If you want to understand the perfect nature of the gamma, read the book The Name of the Wind. Kavath is the ultimate dream gamma. He's the uber gamma, the ultra gamma. How do psychopaths and sociopaths fit into the hierarchy? It's orthogonal to it. You can have a psychopathic male, you can have a psychopathic omega. That's like saying, how do tall and short people fit into the hierarchy? The mental illness doesn't define hierarchy. Now, typically, people who are mentally ill are going to be lower in the hierarchy, and they're typically going to exhibit behavioral patterns that are more indicative of the lower ranks of the hierarchy. But it's orthogonal to it. Has space Examiner News says gammas are obsessed with the hierarchy but want to take it down. They don't want to take it down. Not at all. They want to replace the alpha. They want to be at the pinnacle. That's why we call them secret kings. Yeah, deltas do make the best husband. I think Bravo probably is the best rank. Although it has been interesting getting to know Owen, because you can see, I didn't understand the Bravo deeply enough to understand what the net downsides might be. And now what I realize the downsides are is that they have a very strong compulsion to maintain order. When their sense of hierarchy is offended, they just go into battle. And so, to me that that just seems exhausting. Like, who do you care? Cynthia Trudeau says, Vox, what's your opinion of Vox Day? I hear he has a huge IQ. I hear he has an even bigger ego. What a tool. Let's see. Well, let me hit the super chats here, because I know I've missed a few. There's a couple I missed yesterday. Marie Golay said, I Heart Huckabees is funny. Okay. My sister is a feminist with SJW ideology, and my bro-in-law is a spineless delta. Any suggestion how to red pill my nephews? Only see them once per year. Get them SJWs always lie and SJWs always double down. They will recognize it. Hans Laga says, have you heard of the Storm Area 51 event in September? I have heard of it. I think that it's just a meme, and that nothing is actually going to happen. Olivier Pena says, free super chat from Caribbean Bear. Thank you, Caribbean Bear. Dr. Uzume says, would you consider reading an email I sent you? I think it might apply to a larger amount of people that are coming to terms with their nationalities. I did read the email, but I'm not going to read it on here. My opinion on microphones is very clear. If you want people to access your ideas, start a blog, start a channel. Don't try to use other people's channels to communicate your ideas. Durlex Sedlex, he pointed out, I see my investments in Alt Hero will be paying off handsomely in the future. Again, if you go to voxday.blogspot.com, there's a link to Rebels Run. There's still some space there if you're interested. PFO Dynamite says, man babies are raging against transgender preparatory curriculum for school-age children. Yeah, they're raging, so therefore they're wrong, right? I mean, this really is getting to be clown world. This is when people are starting to look forward to that whole sweet asteroid of Megadeth thing. Paraplegic Bear says, every superhero needs to be in a wheelchair so my fancy pants don't get wrinkly. Exactly. Somebody's in a chair, therefore every character should be in a chair, and also black and gay. Julian Assad, why hasn't Brazil broken up due to its diversity? Because it's ruled by caste. So is Mexico, by the way. You may not realize that, but it's definitely a caste system in Mexico as well. And there's going to be a caste system in the United States if events were to proceed in a linear fashion, which of course they're not. Let's see. Mention the Princess Bride. We'll do a whole since you guys are interested in the whole Princess Bride. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on it, and we'll actually go over the entire script. I think that would be interesting. Might take a while, but I've never done an Owen 2.5 hour style stream before, so maybe we can try that. Chad Thomas says, can Disney afford to hemorrhage money long enough to fully subvert culture? It can afford to, but it's not going to work. Also, have women been lulled into a false sense of security with the amount of protection they have enjoyed? Exactly. Wisdom and the noble virtues. Lewis, should residents of Mexican cities also move to the rural areas like you recommend for Americans? I don't know, because of the next point you said. Rural areas seem more dangerous due to the cartel. Well, that's the problem. I can't. I wish I could give you advice, but I can't, because I don't know the situation. And my principle is, if I don't know what I'm talking about, then I shouldn't give you any direction. So I'm not going to. Julian Assad asks, why did the Jews lose control of the USSR? Because it collapsed. Stalin was, there's a very good reason to believe that Stalin actually was a Jew. Miles Mathis has a lengthy, examination of this. He was married to at least 2 Jewesses. So I don't, it wasn't then, although what Stalin did do is he defeated the Trotskyites. So, so there was that, but I think it was more it was more after Brezhnev, and then with the collapse, they gained some control with what they call the oligarchs, but it was really Putin and the nationalists at that point that removed them from that. So you've got 2 different groups, both of whom are not fond of modern Russia. The Trotskyites became the neoconservatives, and that's why they were up for the Cold War. They wanted revenge on the Stalin Bolsheviks. And now they just want war with Russia. So that's what this whole Iran thing is about, because they weren't able to get a direct war with Russia, so now, and they weren't able to get Trump to go after Iran, so now they're trying to get a war going between the UK and Iran. Remember, they tried to get stuff going between the UK and Russia earlier as well. So, but I don't think it's going to work, because I think everybody sees it. Is Wikipedia ruining the world? No, it's not. It's not powerful enough to. It's not capable of it. But use Infogalactic. Don't use Wikipedia. Use Infogalactic. Evan Schultz says, when the going gets tough, Vox kicks out the lit dark streams. Thank you for sharing your mind. Thank you, Evan. I know you're doing your bit too. We don't have to agree on everything. It's fine. I don't expect you to agree. I don't even expect you to understand. If you do, great. If you understand, wonderful. If you agree as well, fantastic. But I don't expect any of you to. And it's fine if you don't. All I ask is that you be honest and straightforward in your disagreement. And also, respect my intelligence enough to realize that you don't need to tell me the same thing more than once. Repeating something is not going to convince me or change my mind. It's just going to irritate me. I understood it the first time. If I don't understand it, I will let you know, and I'll ask you to explain it. So, who are most responsible for the destruction of Western civilization besides the media, etc.? I believe those who worship the God of this world. They are from a variety of different, I should say, they profess a variety of different religions. They come from a variety of different ethnicities. But at the end of the day, just like in politics, it's always ultimately Plato versus Aristotle. At the end of the day, the war for Western civilization is Satan versus Jesus Christ. You have to choose a side, and those are the two sides. If you dig deep enough, that's what you come to. Chase Littlefield throws in $1. Thank you. So, all right, good. Well, thanks for tuning in. I think that that was a longer session than I'd intended. So I'm glad we were able to stay focused. So we'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have a new announcement, perhaps tomorrow, but definitely this week with regards to the new creator joining unauthorized. If you are a new member, remember to of the channel, or if you're a new subscriber to unauthorized, please send me your email, and I'll be happy to provide notifications of the stream so that you don't miss anything. How long will it take Western man to beat out Muslims in the